Would you trade your house for a flower? Not a garden of flowers, not a farm, just one single bulb. It sounds like a fairy tale, or perhaps a joke, but in 1637 in the Dutch Republic, this was reality. At the height of the madness, a single bulb of the Semper Augustus tulip was valued at 10,000 guilders. To put that in perspective, for that same amount of money, you could buy a luxury mansion on the grandest canal in Amsterdam, complete with a coach house and a garden. Or, if you were hungry, you could trade that one flower for 12 fat sheep, 8 fat pigs, 4 oxen, 1,000 pounds of cheese, 2 tons of butter, a silver cup, and a ship to carry it all. This was Tulip Mania. The history books tell us it was a story of stupidity, a story of a whole nation losing its mind over a petal. But the truth is much more complicated and much more dangerous, because the psychology that drove them in 1637 is the exact same psychology driving the crypto markets, the NFT bubbles, and the stock frenzies of 2025. Today on Mind Be More, we are digging up the roots of the world's first financial bubble. We will explore how a virus created beauty, how a plague fueled greed, and why humans will always mistake price for value. To understand the madness, we must first understand the money. Welcome to the Dutch Golden Age. In the 1630s, the Netherlands wasn't just a country, it was the trading center of the universe. Ships from the Dutch East India Company were returning with spices, silks, and porcelain. Money was flooding into the city like water through a broken dike. A new class of people emerged, the burghers, merchants who were richer than kings but had a unique problem. Their Calvinist religion preached humility, but their bank accounts screamed for attention. They needed a way to show off their wealth without looking sinful. And then a stranger arrived from the Ottoman Empire, the tulip. It was perfect, it was natural, it was scientific, and most importantly, it was incredibly rare. But here's the twist that no one understood at the time. The most expensive tulips, the ones with the fiery red stripes and intricate patterns, were not just beautiful, they were sick. We now know that these patterns were caused by the tulip breaking virus spread by aphids. The virus broke the flower's solid color into flames of white and red, but it also weakened the bulb. It made it harder to reproduce. So the most desirable asset in the world was biologically destined to die. It was a deflationary asset by nature. Beauty created by disease, scarcity created by death. This was the perfect recipe for a financial mania. Normally, you buy a flower, you plant it, you enjoy it. But the Dutch were financial innovators. They didn't just trade flowers, they invented the modern futures market. Tulips only bloom for a few weeks in spring. For the rest of the year, the bulb sleeps underground. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you can trade it. They called it wind handle, the wind trade, because they were buying and selling nothing but air. Contracts were signed for bulbs that were still buried deep in the frozen earth. A single bulb could change ownership 10 times in a day without ever leaving the ground. And where did this trading happen? Not on the stock exchange, but here, in the taverns. They called them colleges. Picture a smoke-filled room in the back of a pub. Alcohol is flowing, the air is thick with tobacco smoke and greed. There was a rule. Every time a deal was made, the buyer and seller had to pay a wine money fee to buy drinks for everyone in the room. Imagine the psychology here. You're surrounded by friends. Everyone is drinking. Everyone is getting rich. The baker just made a year's salary in 5 minutes. The chimney sweep is buying a carriage. It creates a feedback loop of euphoria, social proof. If everyone else is doing it, it must be smart, right? This wasn't investing, this was a casino where the chips were made of flowers. But there was a darker shadow hanging over these taverns, something that most economists forget to mention: the plague. In 1636, the bubonic plague was ravaging the Netherlands. In cities like Haarlem, people were dying by the thousands. The death rate was terrifying. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a 16th century Dutchman. You have some money, but you might be dead next week. Why save? Why be prudent? The presence of death lowers the perceived risk. It creates a nihilistic YOLO mentality. You only live once. If you survive, you're rich. If you die, well, you can't take the debt to the grave. This fatalism poured gasoline on the fire. People started selling their tools, their looms, their livestock, borrowing money to buy bulbs they had no intention of planting. They were playing hot potato with their financial future. They were relying on the greater fool theory. It didn't matter if the price was absurd. It didn't matter if a flower was worth a house. All that mattered was that next week a greater fool would come along and pay even more. Until the fools ran out. February 3rd, 1637. Haarlem. A routine auction in a local tavern. A seller stands up and offers a pound of Switzers, a yellow tulip, at the market price, 1,250 guilders. Silence. No one bids. He lowers the price, 1,100 guilders. Still silence. In that terrifying moment, the spell was broken. The collective hallucination evaporated. Everyone in the room realized the same thing at the exact same time. There are no more buyers. Panic spreads faster than the plague. Within hours, the news traveled to Amsterdam. Within days, the entire market collapsed. Prices fell by 90%, then 95%, then 99%. The man who traded his house for a bulb was left with a piece of drying vegetable matter. The contracts were worthless pieces of paper. The wind trade had blown away. Courts refused to enforce the debts, calling them gambling debts. Friendships were destroyed. Trust evaporated. The golden age had lost its shine. Now we have to be careful. History is often written by the dramatic. Popular stories tell us of sailors eating priceless bulbs, thinking they were onions, or the entire Dutch economy collapsing into ruin. Modern historians tell us a more nuanced story. The Dutch economy didn't collapse. The ships kept sailing. The rich mostly stayed rich. The people who really got hurt were the latecomers, the middle class who entered the casino right before the lights went out. But the lesson remains. It wasn't about the tulips. It was never about the tulips. Just like the dot-com bubble wasn't about the internet. Just like the 2008 crash wasn't just about houses. It was about the flaw in the human operating system. Look at the charts of Tulip Mania. Now look at the chart of Bitcoin in 2017 or NFT prices in 2021. The shape is identical. Technology changes. We move from taverns to Discord servers, from paper contracts to smart contracts, from bulbs to JPEGs. But human nature never changes. We are driven by the same greed, the same fear, and the same desperate desire to believe that this time is different. The next time you see a graph going vertical, the next time you feel that FOMO rising in your chest because your neighbor is getting rich overnight, remember the Semper Augustus. Remember that beauty can be a disease, and remember that eventually the music stops. True wealth isn't found in the wind trade, it's found in mastering your own mind. I'm Mind Be More. If you want to build a wealth mindset that survives the bubbles, make sure to subscribe. See you in the next one.